Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to CarrieLutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
$14.90 WGCH. This is Carrie Lutz. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. There's a lot going on in the world right now, a lot for you to be concerned about. What we're seeing is the rule of law diminishing by the day. We're seeing war drums beating around the globe. We're seeing global QE. We're even seeing the hints of gold confiscation. And perhaps most importantly, we're seeing a breakout in prices of gold, silver, and oil. And if you're having trouble making sense of this, well, Ty Andros of Traderview.com has been following this for years, and he understands what's going on. Ty, welcome back. How are you today?
Good. How are you today? Got a little cold, but other than that, it's been an interesting week.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I've been fighting this cold for the past month because being on the radio, you can't get colds. You're not allowed to get them because if you have a cold that's bad enough, you're out of business. So, and the idea of staying home with a cold is something that just does not compute with me. But in any event, it's good to have you back. There's so much that's been going on this week. My head is spinning, and I've been trying to do a lot of interviews to keep up with it, but it's been really difficult. And if we look at the ECB, the European Central Bank, we got this guy, and somebody said, and I thought it was a great comment, the world is screwed up when the Pope is a German and the head of the ECB is an Italian. There's something really wrong. And we've got this guy, Mario Draghi, who's the head of the ECB, said some interesting things this week, didn't he?
It was just explosive. I actually am very excited about what his remarks were. We can really see, I'll call it this, as a man who is going to try to stand up to the vaunted politicians of Europe, the socialist dictators of Brussels.
And what did he say exactly?
Well, he said a couple of things. I'm going to just quote him. Here's the first one. There was a time when economist Rudy Dornbush used to say that the Europeans are so rich they can afford to pay everybody for not working. That's gone. Okay? And then he said Europe's vaunted social model, which places a premium on job security and generous safety nets, is already gone. Citing high youth unemployment in Spain, it tops 50%. He urged overhauls to produce job creation for young people. Okay, here's another quote. There is no feasible trade-off between economic overhauls and belt tightening. Okay, there have been lots of talks and conversations. I hear about them, but I haven't seen any official investment from China in European financial markets. And of course, the Chinese aren't stupid. They're not going to send money to pay for welfare.
And they got their own problems in China, too. Let's not forget that.
Well, my wife's Chinese, so I have, different views of some of that, but, firsthand. Mm-hmm. And then we've got Simon Johnson, and of course you can say this about all public servants throughout the developed world. A lot of this structural reform talk is illusory at best and in the short run, but it's a better story than saying you're going to have a terrible 10 years. And of course, we sit here and we look at Europe, and there's one thing that they aren't doing which is reforming their policies. Mm-hmm. In fact, their policies are being built up, whether it be here in the United States. They really are just now at the point where they're just running on printing press.
Sure, they're doubling down.
Well, the whole thing is that their economies are collapsing. I did write my newsletter that I talked to you about last week, and it's going out today, and it's available free at Traderview.com.
And we'll also send it out in this week's newsletter from KerryLutz.com. If you're a subscriber, just go to KerryLutz.com, subscribe. We'll have it on there as a PDF.
But, there's one thing that no politician here in the United States or in Europe is considering, and that's reforming regulations, lowering taxes, unleashing the private sector, allowing the private sector more freedom. They want to take freedom, and then we had another interesting thing come out of the UK today, and David Cameron. Although these tax increases were done by the closing days of Sold to Gold Brown, and
Gordon Brown, right?
Gordon Brown, and
Brown's bottom.
And they raised, the top income tax rate from 40 to 50%. And of course, they penciled in, equivalent amount of increase in revenues. And lo and behold, 12 months later, they're 20% short or 15% short of their projections, and revenues are below where they were when they were at 40.
Yeah, and that is a great point that I just want to jump in, because you see this time and time again, and it's always tax the rich, take the money from the rich. What people don't get is the rich are rich for a good reason. Either they earned it, they inherited it, whatever, but they have the best tax advice available, and they have often the luxury of scheduling when their income shows up on their tax return. And when taxes are high, they put it off. And if they have a lot of money in securities, they might be getting dividends, but they might just be taking out margin loans for very, very little interest, less than 1%, and living off the loan, waiting to sell when it's most advantageous. And people don't get that. When they say tax the rich, they're just saying tax the upper middle class and the middle class more, because the rich are never, ever going to pay it. Right?
Well, people don't understand. People that are socialists and Marxists, and they believe in socialism, and they think socialism is taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Mm-hmm. But actually, socialism is exactly the opposite of that. It's taking from the poor and transferring it to the rich.
Yeah, exactly. That's FDR. FDR, totally.
And, I don't have the same view you do about the taxes. I believe, the rich are rich for a reason. They took risks, and they led a prudent lifestyle, and they started businesses and were successful. And, most people don't understand that capitalism is your success, except for if it's like as an entertainment, but even there, capitalism is more for less. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? That means that by giving more product and service for less money, people make a rational decision and reward the provider of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And most people don't understand that when a General Motors is going down, it's because somebody that they're competing with is giving their ex-customers more car for less money.
Yep.
And, they have to compete. That's just nature. Mm-hmm. And, the rich, or as you can say, are they have the luxury of not doing anything. Mm-hmm. They have the luxury of not doing anything. Exactly. And not running a business. I mean, the damage being done by the chosen one in trying to divide this country and demonize success is going to take years and years to repair.
Yeah.
And why would anybody start a business, take the risks of losing everything he has or all the money that he invested in it, and to get to the point where you have a success and you've negotiated all the risks and you are delivering more for less, and here comes some guy who says, I'm going to take it from you at the end of a gun, at the end of a point of a gun, and give it to people who don't lead a prudent lifestyle.
Yeah, well, now we're into a philosophical discussion that I enjoy having. I always enjoy it because to me it's just so obvious that the people who produce are, are the victims, because it's like that guy who was trying to build a coal mine in Kentucky that was going to employ 500 people, bring millions of dollars to the local economy. He went to a meeting and he just said, "You know what, guys? I've had enough. I don't need the money. I can go play golf. I can go retire. And I don't need to listen to you idiotic bureaucrats. I don't need to listen to the government. I don't need the money. Goodbye." And that's, as Ayn Rand, it's called going Galt. And more people are doing that. And as somebody once said, I never got a job from a poor person. I've worked for many wealthy people. Those wealthy people, when they're producing, and who are we to judge? And I'm not talking about crony capitalists either. I'm not talking about, big corporations and corporativism. I'm talking about pure entrepreneurs, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, people like that, or people that took real estate.
How about Ty Andros?
Hey, how about Ty Andros?
How about Ty Andros,
right,
who worked 60 hours a week and had years and years of trying to build my business up, and sometimes having success and sometimes not having success. And I kept at it, and when I was knocked down, I got back up, and Ty's got 5 employees that support his efforts, and I didn't inherit my money. I didn't steal it. I have some success because I'm a pretty good money manager and people seek out my expertise, but I certainly didn't steal my success from somebody else, or the only way I got to my success is by spending hours and hours a day studying markets, understanding what's going on, how to apply the economics to hopefully put my clients into a position to be successful with their investments.
Wait a second. I saw your name in the stimulus bill. They were giving you money, Ty. I'm sure of it. Wasn't that you?
Oh yeah, that's me. You caught me. Me and Warren Buffett, right?
You and Buffett. Well, let's not talk about him. I already I already had a segment on Buffett. I don't want to talk any more about him. But what you're talking about here is rules of the game. They're gone. What we're looking at is like the sovereign bondholders for Greece. They actually bought insurance, CDSs and such, but of course the Swaps Association says no. Greece didn't default. This is voluntary, and now all their debt's been subordinated to the sovereign bondholders, right, to the sovereign creditors. And they're left holding the bag, right? So this is just confiscation of their property without due process, right?
That they change. It's just like GM. It's just like changing the rules. I mean, the idea that some politician comes in and he's super senior to people that lent money in good faith according to rules written into bonds, but those rules are worthless. But they don't really understand. They've got to roll $7 trillion. And how many pension funds or institutions are able to hold subordinated debt? And that's what it is. So they're going to be forced not only not to roll, but to get rid of what they have.
So
okay, I mean that's really the bottom line of it, and I'm waiting for shareholder lawsuits that say, hey, you got to be out of that stuff, because it's the first guy out the door that's going to be okay, not the last guy.
Yeah, well, that's your typical Ponzi scheme there. The people that get in first and get out first clean up, and the rest of them suck wind, and that gets to confiscation of Greece's gold and global QE. In my opinion, they go hand in hand, don't they?
Well, it's interesting, and I think that this is going to play out in the United States. Okay, one of the terms of the bailout is that Greece's gold is now collateral.
Yeah.
And so if they default and they try to go back to the drachma, they literally have no gold at all to back their currency with. None. But you learn that this is the way it is throughout Europe. But the big thing is going to happen when people learn that they've given the U.S. gold as collateral for sales of T-bills to the Fed.
Really?
Okay.
Is that what's happened? Because theoretically...
That's what I believe. Okay, I believe that all the gold in Fort Knox and everything else is at the Fed. It's no longer with the Treasury, and it's as collateral for the Fed, buying U.S. bonds.
Yeah, that's what Rickard says. I interviewed him last week, and he just seems to be of the opinion that once everything hits the fan, the U.S. is going to abrogate all of those contracts and just take the gold because they're going to need it. Now, I'm not smart enough to...
That assumes the gold's still in the vaults in New York and not at the BIS in Switzerland.
Yeah, well...
No one's seen the gold.
Yeah, well, we know that the gold is in the Federal Reserve, although that's not U.S. gold for the most part, but a portion of it is because it's supposedly the IMF's gold. Yeah, none of this, there's no transparency, there's no nothing, and we really don't know anything of the state of affairs of the gold and the underlying backbone of the world financial system, and that's what seems to be going on. Well, now.
It's interesting. There was an article in Zero Hedge this week, which I urge everybody to go read. And it talked about $7 trillion worth of fake Federal Reserve bonds, mid-30s. And I don't believe they're fake at all.
You don't think they're fake?
They were part of a scam the Fed ran in the mid-30s on the Kuomintang in China.
Right.
And the Kuomintang got the bonds and gave the gold over to the Fed and in exchange for the bonds. And there's a letter there from Scribd at the bottom of that article, and it really outlines what it is. But nobody could have done the elaborate antique boxes.
Yeah, I saw those.
Okay, those are the real deal, and those were part of I'll call it a fraud that the Federal Reserve ran in the mid-30s.
Think so, huh?
On the Chinese.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Well, there was a lot of chaos going on in China in the 30s and the 40s. They were having hyperinflation. My father happened to have been there in World War II. He was flying from India to China and back to remote provinces. And what was interesting is that in some provinces they had hyperinflation, and in others they didn't, because they didn't know, because the information flows were very restricted. So you could buy the currency in one province and then sell it in another and clean up. And my father refused to do that. He just wanted to be out of the place. He hated it with a passion. But they friends of his cleaned up, and cigarettes and alcohol. It was, for an enterprising young man, World War II was a bonanza. And
well, I'm just going to say that this calamity is a bonanza too.
Yeah.
This is the greatest opportunity in history.
We agree on that.
And I just have got to say it over and over again. This isn't doom and gloom. It's just history repeating, and you have to understand how to do applied Austrian economics, and you have to understand how to restore the functions of money. And, it's going to end up, there's two symbols in China.
Danger and opportunity.
That's right. In fact, it's on your card, isn't it?
It's on my business card, right? We're so attuned, Ty.
Okay. And it absolutely is that period again.
Yeah, totally agree with you on it. There's no question about it. There's never been a better time to get wealthy. Just like in the Great Depression, millions of millionaires were created. That's what we're looking at now. But unfortunately, most people don't have the knowledge. And it's not just knowledge, because that's only part of it, but they're afraid to act even when they do have the knowledge. So if you've got some money, if you've got some funds that you can put into metals and other sound investments, you're not just going to ride through this thing. and survive, you're going to be on top. I mean, Ty, did you ever hear that story? It was in Berlin. Guy was a bellman, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a great parable. He's a bellman of a very posh hotel in Berlin, and before they went into hyperinflation, he got a tip, a double eagle, $20 gold piece, and that was a ton of money back then. $20 in the 20s. What is it now? It's probably $300-400, and that was a lot of money back then. Lot. And a year later, he used that gold piece after the hyperinflation to buy the hotel because the owner had to have money to get out of town. And that's the kind of things that we're looking at here that are going to occur in a very short period of time, right?
Well, it never ceases to amaze me the number of people that know the story. They can talk it. They, can tell you about what's unfolding, but they have not devised ways to apply their knowledge to make money.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm not going to name names, but they're some of the biggest people out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And you've actually interviewed a couple of them over the last couple of weeks. And I'm not, like I said, they're just, they are very good at telling stories. They are not good at teaching people how to set their sails and profit from them.
Yeah. And
I mean, gold and silver is just a simple man's way of preserving wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's going to go up far a greater amount than people, so you can get leverage just with physical gold and silver, but that's not, where the money is. I mean, that's one of the places. But, you need to just know how to fix paper. You need to know how to preserve your wealth. You're going to get the best buying opportunity in real estate ever.
yeah.
You're going to get the best buying opportunity in stocks. You're going to get the best buying opportunity in all sorts of stuff, except for bombs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bonds.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. And because understand, we're now at the point where the printing press used to be relied on. Now it's kind of going exponential.
Yep.
And you can really see what's going on. You can see by the TIX data, they make it look like the bond market is so well bid.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, if you look underneath the covers, the Fed's taking down 50 to 90% of all the long-term issuance.
It has to be that way, and how anyone could think otherwise.
And the global central banks are printing $500 billion a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. We're now at the point where all of the promises to pay are unpayable. Mm-hmm. But they're using the printing press, and, when it's done, we'll be a different society. Unfortunately, I think everybody's going to make the wrong choices first before they make the right choices. And we can just look at the United States right now. We have politicians that are telling us that affordable and normal energy is not a solution to our problems.
Yeah,
it's just absurd on its face.
Let's talk about energy maybe next week, okay?
That's fine.
Just want to finish up here. So we're looking at a gold and silver breakout here, especially with the war drums beating right now. And it looks to me like there's an inevitability towards a Middle East conflagration. We're just marching towards it. There's nothing that's going to stop it. No one wants to really stop it. They don't want to deal with it. There's so many other things going wrong. But we're getting there. And this can only do one thing to gold, silver, and oil, right?
Oh, they're going to the moon, and both for repricing to reflect the debasement that's going on, and because it's for Obama, it's just kind of like it's kind of like a college exercise, a classroom exercise, but for the Israelis, it's are we going to be alive, and are our children going to be alive next week?
Yeah,
and that's a pretty easy decision to make at that point.
Yeah, you know what it's like. You know what
I mean,
it's like.
the whole idea that they're going to put together intercontinental ballistic missiles and explode an atomic bomb over the U.S. East Coast. I'll tell you, I don't think your oven will work after that.
Hey,
so I mean, this is life and death.
The question is, though,
it's far deeper consequences. It's inevitable. It's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah, absolutely. And the real issue is, will my iPad still work? All right. The oven, all right, so we'll go rub some sticks together and we'll go shoot a deer in the backyard and we'll get by. But if my iPad doesn't work, I'm really screwed here. So, hey, on that note, Ty, where do we find you again?
We find me at Traderview, but my new website's going to be opening up probably in the next week at tedbits.com.
Oh, congratulations.
And my newsletter, Tedbits, is coming out, and I guess you're going to distribute it this weekend, but subscriptions are free, so I urge everybody to subscribe, and we'll send it to you directly.
Hey, and good luck on Tedbits. I'm excited to see it, and like I said, go to kerrylutz.com, sign up. We'll send you a copy of Ty's newsletter. It's really great read. So, till next week, Ty, we'll check in with you, but it's getting very interesting very quickly.
Yes. Good luck and God bless, like I said.